Greetings, adventurers. This is DM Kurt, and today I'm going to tell you a story, and then at the very end, I'll tell you the point of the story. So, I was running a Christmas-based one-shot a while back, and here's a little bit about how it goes. So, first is the setup. The setup is the party is traveling from point A to point B in the campaign world for whatever reason. Hopefully it's not a terrible emergency. But the peasant hero of the group, whoever has a small village in their backstory, will happen to just say, hey, everybody, I know it's slightly out of our way, but on our way to the place, there's this little side road that takes you to this one little village, and they have the best Yule celebration that you could ever dream of. So this one druid that lived in this county lived out of there, and he bred these six-legged pigs because he wanted to win the county fair pig race. And he won, but they immediately disqualified the breed for next year. But they are super delicious. They're slightly leaner, and they're hard to catch. But this village, they brine them for 48 hours beforehand, and then they bake them with this cornbread stuffing, and they slather them with this grape jelly and honey glaze, and they serve them with all these pastries and pies and their local beer, and it's just the best. And how about we head over there? They're known for their hospitality. We'll go in there, get our bellies full, and then we'll get back on the road. How about that? And there's your hook. Next thing you do is halfway down this road, this little country dirt road, you set up an ambush. You start off with the howling of wolves circling the party. Out of every direction they hear this howling, and then from out of the bushes and the trees come a pack of dire wolves. These wolves are the size of your horses. And the first thing these wolves do is they try to spook your horses, make horsemanship checks. Then they try to either grab the size, anybody smaller than a human, any elves or dwarves, or especially halflings and such. They try to grab them and then just drag them through the brush by their leg for about 200-300 yards, hoping that you'll drop something. So you make strength checks to see if you drop your gear. Anybody that stays in the saddle, these wolves, and there's going to be like at least 2 per party member, will try to grab your staff or your sword or maybe even your shield away from you and try to snatch it. They're trying to steal. These wolves are somehow specifically not trying to attack as such. They might bite you or your horse just to make you a little bit scared, but they're not going to try to kill. And a couple of rounds into this battle, allow somebody to make a perception check, and if they make it, they will see another wolf in the distance on one side or the other of the road, just standing in the road with an orc on top of it. Orc will be in studded leather, and he'll have like a spear or a pole arm, and he won't engage. But if these wolves get a certain amount of gear stolen, or they drag you off, they'll drop you 300 yards away, grab your gear, and they'll bolt. If the wolves get seriously injured, they'll bolt, and the ambush is over. This is a specifically non-lethal ambush. Then it's over. You go to the village. The village will be decorating for the Yule, or Christmas. Basically, it's Christmas under another name, but we're trying to make this all medieval and D&D. So they're celebrating, and they're getting everything decorated. It's Christmas Eve. You let the party members just witness this whole spectacle. And if they go to the inn is getting ready. There's little colored glass over the lanterns to make it look more festive. There's a bunch of people decorating along the sides of the walls. Just play it up. Just ham it up in your descriptions. And if anybody asks, hey man, we got ambushed by this, these wolves, or ambushed by these wolves led by an orc, have the bartender, now we're in part 3, this exposition part, the bartender will tell a tale of, oh, that's the Gregg. That's Gregg. And every time he says the word Gregg, everyone who's decorating stops what they're doing and yells, Gregg's a jerk. And you continue on your explanation, blah, 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 blah. You know, Gregg was, Gregg's been a problem for a while now. Gregg's a jerk. So he ambushes people on the road and steals from them. He's our local bandit, and we've never been able to catch him. He lives somewhere up in the mountains over the hill a little ways away, and him and his wolves are just a menace, but he doesn't kill anybody, so the king's doesn't bother putting enough of a bounty on his head to make any adventurers want to come after this guy. So he's just been a pain in our butt, and sometimes he even vandalizes our Yule celebrations. And remember, every time you say the word Gregg, you have to have all the helpers stop and yell, Gregg's a jerk, just to punctuate every time you use the word Gregg. So if the party members decide to really ask a lot more questions about this, and they get good persuasion checks or investigation or whatever, you can get a little bit more out of the innkeeper as to the backstory here. The backstory is that, you know, they found an abandoned orc baby a while back, and one of the locals adopted it, raised it as their own, and the other kids of the village just teased it relentlessly. They teased this little orc they just named Gregg, and they just teased it so mercilessly that, you know, at the age of 12 or so, it took off and just left town, and they're, you know, not to be seen again for several years until it was fully mature and it was leading this pack of wolves. Which kind of leaves you the question, I mean, how terrible are you as a people if you're forcing a child to leave from the incessant bullying and just would rather go into the woods and be raised by wolves than to deal with your kids? I mean, you kind of wonder who the good and bad guys are in here. That sounds a little bad, but let's carry forward. So it's Christmas Eve, and there's a ruckus, and the town's got a problem. Y'all wake up, middle of Christmas Eve. It's dark 30, and somebody smashed the windows of the local bakery and threw sand all over the pastries and pies. They ruined some. They lit the Christmas tree that's in the middle of the town square on fire, and upon further investigation, you find that somebody killed several cattle and festooned the fence line with the entrails of the cattle. And then, worst of all, a little girl went missing. Oh no. So now we get into your tracking skills. Have the party track a pack of wolves several miles away and up halfway up this mountainside. And there you find the lair of Gregg the orc and his pack of wolves. And here again, you can have a fight with the wolves. At this time, they will fight to kill up to a certain point. If you defeat a certain number of wolves, they're not going to fight to the very last one to the death. A few of them will try to run away once you've kind of basically broken the morale of the pack. So maybe if you kill half of them. They are fighting to defend their home, but they're also not so fanatic that they want to die. There is some self-preservation instinct there. And eventually, you end up fighting Gregg the orc, who, if you want to get into the mechanics, he's some NPC form of a ranger because of the animal handling situation you got going on there. And remember, NPCs, you can kind of bend the rules for the point of the story and kind of adjust what they can do with their class, but this is basically a ranger. You can defeat him, and he won't fight to the death. He'll surrender if need be, and he can be talked to. And the little girl, well, she saw the big doggies, and she decided to climb onto one of them, and it carried her away. And Gregg and his band of wolves got to the lair and discovered she'd clung onto the back of one of them, and he'd basically been talking to her because he was lonely. He's been alone with just him and the wolves, and she's totally fine, and you can rescue her. And you know what? When I ran this, I even put a trap in there. I had just a nice kind of ratty carpet sitting in the middle of the corridor on the way into the main entrance. Perception check to notice that the tracks all went around the carpet. Well, they totally failed that. The carpet was a pit trap down a chute. The chute slides halfway down the mountain and lands in the city garbage pit, which Gregg and the wolves tend to raid from time to time. But that took, I believe that took 2 party members out of the fight for a while because they fell through the pit, and then they had to kind of reconvene. But as you wrap this up, you either get Gregg to surrender or kill him. You rescue the little girl, and everybody gets back to your Christmas thing. You win. You'll loot Gregg for his gear or whatever, but you win. And everybody has their Christmas feast and celebration, and everyone lives happily ever after. But the point of this is that we had a lot of fun with this little Christmas one-shot, even though I totally snagged the storyline off of The Grinch. A good DM can take even a Jim Carrey movie, which I know was based on the Dr. Seuss thing, but a good DM can just take even a Jim Carrey movie and turn it into a fun plot line for a little one-shot or something. So there's plenty of places out there where you can find a non-D&D thing and just use it to build your own stories. And that's it for me. They fought the Gregg. DM Kurt out.